Germans, Dutch. Had one black man lived a block away, and he was completely accepted as part of the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Had Chinese people living a block away that operated a laundry, hand laundry. And the kids in the neighborhood, including myself, used to walk by his house and throw bricks at the side of it just to see him come out screaming. Thought that was smart, you know.
Yeah. A lot of Catholics, I guess. Predominantly.
In the neighborhood, yeah, probably more so than Protestant, but quite a few Protestants. Yeah.
So how about your school life early on?
School life?
You went to Catholic schools?
I went to Catholic schools for 8 years and then 2 years of high school. I was a very quick learner, but a very poor student. I was a champion speller in the 5th grade. Then when I went to the 6th grade, the nun there was, to put it mildly, an absolute bitch. Not that I hold any resentment against her, but I'll never forget her charming personality.
What was her name? Do you remember?
Sister Stella.
Sister Stella.
I think it was Stella.
She's probably dead now. Huh?
Oh, hopefully.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, she'd be about 120 now.
Yeah.
We're alive.
That sounds familiar. I was a quick learner, poor student.
Yeah.
So you went 2 years Catholic high school and then
Yeah.
switched to public?
The pastor at the Catholic school that in the church there arranged for me to have free tuition at the high school, but my study habits were nil, and they asked me to leave after 2 years, so I went and finished another 2 lackadaisical years at McKinley High School in Chicago.
McKinley High School. That's where Walt Disney went.
Right, correct. And Studs Terkel, too.
Studs Terkel, no kidding.
Right.
Wow. So you got free tuition in high school?
Yeah, for 2 years.
How'd you get that? A scholarship or something?
I'd go over to the priest at the grade school there, parish, would give me the monthly tuition. I'd have to go over there and get it and take it to school.
Oh. But was that need-based, or is that something you earned, or that
Just because I was such a brilliant kid.
Oh, okay.
Just never learned how to do any work.
So you have a younger brother, 2 younger sisters.
Correct.
What's the order there? Is it you and then Frank?
Yeah, me and Frank. There are 4 of us alive now, and the 2 children died very young. One died at 2 years of age, a boy named John, and a year or so later, a girl named Dorothy May died. And those deaths happened in 31, 32, right around there.
So you were 8 and 9. That would have made you 8 years old and then 9 years old.
Well, yeah, maybe 9 or 10.
Well, I haven't heard much about that. So Frank, it was you and then Frank and then Aunt Katie.
Correct.
And then Aunt Marie.
Right.
And then who was the first child?
I think the boy came before Marie.
Oh, before Marie, okay. His name was John?
John. I believe it was John, unless I'm screwing it up. I haven't seen him for 70 years. And Dorothy May, the baby girl, I think was born after Marie. I'm sure she was.
So what happened to John?
He had diphtheria.
He was a few years old and just got sick and died.
2 years old.
2 years old.
Yeah, that was a pretty serious disease at that time. They didn't have anything to fight it with, really.
Was it contagious?
Yeah,
Nobody else got it?
nobody else got it. At one time, our family was quarantined for 90 days with scarlet fever. Several of us in the household had it, including myself. And we had my aunt and Uncle Matt and Irene were living with us at that time, and she had it. So it was raging in the house for 90 days.
Wow.
And that was when I was in the 2nd grade. And in spite of that, they double promoted me that year. But I didn't last very long in the double promotion. I was there for just a couple of weeks and they put me back in the 3rd grade. I was double promoted twice in my lifetime, but I never stuck on that.
Wow.
Really get me ahead of myself.
With no effort.
No effort.
Man, that sounds familiar. Wow.
So I never learned to really apply myself.
So how about Dorothy? Was that her name, Dorothy?
Dorothy May?
Yeah,
She was
the baby.
baby died at 6 weeks of age, I
Oh,
think.
6 weeks.
Of pneumonia, I think.
Wow. So do you remember when John passed away?
I remember being at the funeral and everything, and how tore up my mother was for a long time after. And then repeated the process with the other one.
So, your mother never worked, right?
Oh, she worked on occasion.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, she worked. She worked for Carson Peary before she married my father. She and my aunt Annie worked there. My father's sister worked at Carson Peary Scotch Company. And then later on, she worked down there on occasions for the Christmas holiday season. And she worked for the University of Illinois on occasion. Probably in her late 30s.
So, what did you think of your father when you were coming up? Was he kind of a mythic figure, or did you spend a lot of time with him?
What did I think of him? I always thought he was he felt that he was responsible, that he had to support the family.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as he worked as much as he could, it didn't matter what happened to the money before he brought it home. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That was something else. But he thought he was doing his job as long as he was working. A lot of times he'd come home with zero money left over, you know, after a week's work.
Mm-hmm. So he liked to hit the pubs?
Yes, he had a taste for the brew.
And he didn't drink at home, he drank in the pubs primarily.
He only drank where he was. At home or abroad.
I remember. So he, when did he retire? Do you remember? How old?
He was only 62 when he retired. He developed a spinal nerve disease of some sort, and made him stagger around when he walked. It looked like he was drunk and all. He had quit drinking years before that. He was about 52 or so when he had his last drink, maybe a little older.
So was that related to that head injury, you think?
I think so.
No proof, I guess. So he quit drinking on his own when he was 52.
52, 54.
Did anything happen, or did he just decide to quit?
Just quit. I don't know why. My mother might have given him a word or two, you know, to spur him on.
Mm-hmm. Was his drinking pretty heavy near the end?
When he drank heavy.
Always.
Yeah, most of the time.
Hmm.
When my mother's father drank, he drank heavy. He, do you want to know about him?
Sure.
Yeah,
He's Ackerman, right?
he was Ackerman, yeah, he was very adept with his hands. He could make anything out of anything or make anything
Mhm.
out of nothing. He was kind of my hero because
Mm-hmm.
he could do all kinds of things. He taught me how to make a little airplane and carve it by hand out of pieces of wood and put a propeller on it and tie a string on it and swing it around and listen to it whir in the air. The
Mhm.
propeller would go around. And he'd show us all kinds of tricks, how to do things around the house, how to re-sole our shoes for 10 cents or something like that. Buy rubber re-sole kits and put them on the shoes. He was very handy at doing all kinds of things with carpentry and construction type things.
What'd you call him, Grandpa?
Grandpa, yeah,
Grandpa Ackerman.
Grandpa Ackerman, right.
And you got to see him quite a bit?
Not as much as I would like to. He lived about 60 miles away from us in Fox Lake, Illinois, most of the time when I was growing up. We would go out there in the summertime and visit him for a week or a little more at a time for vacation. He was a great white hunter.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
He hunted, huh?
Well, at that time, he just about had to. It was during the Depression. They had no money, and he had a couple of guns, shotgun and a .22 rifle, and he'd hunt. He lived in the Chain of Lakes area, and hunt right outside the house, and
Mm-hmm.
hunt rabbits or whatever. Lived next to a hickory grove, and pick hickory nuts. In the little area where they lived, there was 6 or 8 houses, and I guess he had worked on all of them, helped them erect them.
Wow.
They were right on what's called Grass Lake.
So he had guns. Did he ever let you shoot him?
Yeah. He let me shoot him, and one day I took his .22 out. I was 10 or 11 years old, and I shot a beautiful bird. Might have been a robin, and that shook the shit out of me. That was the last of my hunting.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So he was with you and you shot around?
No, he wasn't with
Oh,
me.
he wasn't?
But, I don't even know if I'm sure he knew I had the gun. But he'd give me enough training that he figured, you know, like the NRA, that it was perfectly safe as long as the kid knew. A 10-year-old kid which knows what to do with a gun.
As long as you know which end the bullet comes out?
Yeah.
So you went hunting, shot a bird, and that was the end of it?
Grandpa Ackerman was musical too. He was
Oh, yeah?
made his own mandolin by hand and
Wow.
played it. Played all the old-fashioned songs. And they started singing for we had no radio or TV or anything like that. And if you wanted entertainment, you had to provide it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd get the whole bunch of us singing.
He knew a lot of songs?
Yeah.
Hmm.
The old-fashioned songs, you know.
He'd take you fishing?
Yeah. We'd walk 100, 200 feet to go fishing right there.
Mm-hmm.
He had a little hand operated